Hi, my name is Arinze, and we are going to look at the different app modes available for the EndApps platform. So this is the root of the application. You can see the different areas that are in the application and also the register site. But what we are interested in right now are the app modes. And if you have the right permissions, you have this drop down available to you. And this is how you get into the different app modes. There are 6 app modes, and currently we are in the user mode. And the user mode is the mode that your end users will use all the time. So all the other modes are for administrative personnel, for employees. So you have the editor mode, the designer mode, the designer plus editor mode, the data manager mode, and the developer mode. After the user mode, the next most used mode is the editor mode. And with the editor mode, you can edit the static text, the labels that are available on the data site. Then you have the designer mode. The designer mode is used to configure site structure, configure data structures, and we're going to see examples of that. The designer plus editor mode is for more advanced scenarios. It combines the functionality available for the editor mode as well as the functionality available for the designer mode, plus more advanced scenarios for editing or designing. The data manager mode is used to manage site data. The developer mode is for developers, and it contains features that are used to debug the site. It contains also label editing that would have been more risky to have available in the editor mode. So this is the root of the application, and it doesn't have much in it, but let's switch over to editor mode and let's see how it looks. So currently in the editor mode, there's only one static label that has been made available, which is just the header for this section. So we can change this to say site root. Now you can see that you get immediate feedback about the change, the border color changes, as well as the text. So if you now switch back to user mode, you see that the way your end user is going to see it, just that the text has been changed. So let's take a look at the designer mode. Notice that you have a slightly larger button for the comments, and also you have a new configuration icon right here. So the button here lets you manage security for the navigation, and also if you are in editor mode, you will be able to actually change the text for the navigation. Then the comments button has been switched over to the manage comments button. So let's get back to user mode. Now if we look at the designer plus editor mode, notice that as well as being able to edit the labels, you also have the configuration buttons available that would have been available in designer mode. But now you also have hidden static text. They're all gathered together below the page. So you now have 2 sections: labels that have not been assigned yet, and the labels that you've actually assigned text to. Again, let's get back to user mode. So let's take a look at the data manager mode. So now we are in data manager mode, and if we now navigate to comments, we are now able to actually manage the actual data for the comments itself. So we can actually delete a comment right now. Again, let's get back to user mode. So before we actually get to developer mode, let's go back to the root of the site. Okay, so let's switch to developer mode right now. So you will notice a few things. There's a new button so you can actually see the mobile view of the site even though you are in the desktop. you're able to change the text for sensitive buttons like the log off button and the mode change button. So the mobile view is the kind of functionality that a developer would like to have, because most likely you build the application on a desktop, but still you want to know how it would look on a mobile skin or the mobile device. So you can switch over to that, and this is how it's going to look. The very same page, this is how it's going to look on the mobile device, and I can switch back to the desktop. So let's get back to user mode. Let's go to a more challenging page. So let's go to the list of customers. So again, we can make the same mode changes here, and let's see how it looks. So let's go to editor mode. Now, just the same as we did before, we can change this to say users. Again, you have the immediate feedback, you have the immediate update here, and if you switch back to user mode, this is how it's going to look. Let's try the designer mode. So with the designer mode, you can actually change the configuration of your grids and the actions available for a grid. So let's change to 6 rows for this grid. Right now, currently it's 4. All you have to do is navigate away and the change takes effect. And let's add one more action button. Let's add the delete button. Again, the immediate feedback. Something else you can do is affect the actual grid and what it can do. So let's pick on the sign up date. And what we're going to say here is that we don't want it to allow sorting anymore. And we want to change the text to say sign up date, 2 words. The text has been changed and the buttons for the sort is gone. So let's take a look at configuring the navigation in designer mode. Can change the security for the site. So you can now add additional permissions to rows, or you can remove permissions from rows. So let's add an additional permission to security admin. Again, you can see that show up right there. You can actually delete discrete permissions as well. So let's take a look at the designer plus editor mode. This is a much more complicated page. It has much more text. It has much more functionality than the previous page we looked at. So let's compare for a second the difference between just being in editor mode for the same page and being in designer plus editor mode. You can see that there's so much more, it's much busier. In designer plus editor mode, not only are you in designer mode and also in editor mode, all the hidden text now show up at the bottom of the page, so you are able to actually change them. It can be busy, and that's why we put it here. In most situations, you will use just the editor mode. Okay. So we will not look at the data manager mode again or the developer mode again. Let's switch back to user mode. Let's get to the root of the customer in the site. Now in designer mode, there is a little bit more you can do, especially once it comes to your summaries. So your data directories or your summaries. So let's go to the data directory for customer. So this is a configured directory for the customer. This is the primary directory. So for the directories in designer mode, you have the configuration button for the current directory. In this case, this is a primary directory. And of course, you have the security button. but also you have the configuration button for all the other directories as well. Plus, you are able to create a new directory. Let's look at the configuration for the primary directory. So this is the configuration for the primary directory. And the most interesting thing here is that you are able to configure data filters. You are able to configure the actual directory. So this directory is configured to do a search on email, then follow that up with the date ranges, 2 date ranges for the sign up date. So the users will be arranged in an alphabetized menu. Then the submenu will now be their sign up dates. So that is what you can do with the directory. So let's look at another directory. So let's open order up in a new tab. So this is orders directory. If we go to the configure mode for the categorize orders, you can now see how this is configured. Configured an order value less than 0 are return orders. Order values between 0 and $20 are small orders, and any orders larger than $20 are considered large orders. Again, this is all configuration based. The developer does not have to be involved with this. That is one of the key features of the designer mode, the ability to actually configure your data view. So that is a brief introduction to the different app modes for EndApps Platform. If you want an online demo or if you want an in-person demo, that is also possible. Again, this is Arinze, and thanks for watching.